Welcome back to the couch. I'm Des.
And I'm Jay.
And this is our Less Than Zero review. And it's coming up next.
Less Than Zero is a 1987 drama loosely based on Bret Easton Ellis' novel of the same name. It was directed by Merritt Kanievska and stars Andrew McCarthy, Jamie Gertz, Robert Downey Jr., and James Spader.
Clay, a college freshman, returns to Los Angeles for the holidays at his ex-girlfriend's request, but discovers his former best friend Julian has an out-of-control drug habit. Clay tries to help him get sober, but the process is complicated by Rip, a callous drug dealer Julian is indebted to. We start this film with the three main characters graduating from high school, and what I thought was very telling and foreshadowing of future events was that Julian, Robert Downey Jr.'s character, was double-fisted in the graduation photo, which, okay, awesome, you just graduated, I guess that's great, but in my world, you graduated 18 and you're not allowed to drink till you're 21, so...
I was trying to figure out if that was cider or what, but it looked like liquor to me.
Yeah, it looked like liquor to me too, so I don't know, but it was cool. I mean, you get that this is a great time, that there's a close, tight-knit camaraderie between the three characters.
Yeah, this is a very character-driven film, and if you aren't interested in these three characters' interactions and their dynamic, then you may not like the film at all. We've got Robert Downey Jr. playing Julian, then we have Jamie Gertz playing Blair, and then Andrew McCarthy playing Clay. And I love the graduation scene. It's maybe 90 seconds, 2 minutes long tops, but you get so much information. You understand their camaraderie. You understand they've known each other at least through high school, if not their whole lives, but at least enough to be close. We know that Julian, he's taking his future seriously in his mind, but he's not necessarily interested in taking the quote-unquote normal steps that most kids take at this age.
I, Julian Wells, have just become a fully financed record producer.
Kidding, that's great. Where'd you get the dough?
Mr. Benjamin Wells, the greatest dad in dad history. Tone Deaf Records is now a reality. Now, if you guys would just quit college, we could go into business together.
I don't think so.
Why don't you just join us
I'm
in
Mr.
college?
Linsky.
Oh, right, I barely survived high school.
Right after graduation, we fast forward 6 months, and the tone of the movie has completely changed. So we get an amazing score. It's a great score on this film. I love it. Lighting's darker, and something's happened in 6 months.
We have a flashback to the events that we didn't see on camera, something the main points that happened in the 6 months, not in any particular sequence, but the main things that happened. Blair and Clay, they were supposed to be the super couple, and the best friend and Blair end up sleeping together. And we find out that in the flashbacks, which were in black and white. I thought that was pretty interesting, because at first it's a little jarring, but then once you realize what it is, it's like, okay, that's kind of cool. It differentiates the present from the past.
So catching his best friend and his girlfriend together, obviously that upsets Clay, and so he leaves for college with that. So this phone call, it's Blair on the other line. She wants him to come home, and he assumes that's to reconcile in some way with her. But when he gets home, he finds out she's really just, I need you here to help me with Julian. And that's not what he wants to hear, because obviously he doesn't want to have anything to do with Julian at this point in his life.
Right, he's pissed.
And who knows how long it's been since he's talked with her, too, because when she calls, it's, why are you calling me? So obviously they haven't been talking very frequently.
Correct me if I'm wrong, didn't something else happen during the flashbacks? We found out like why Blair didn't go to college as well?
Blair ends up forgetting about college,
I'm just going to do the model thing.
And does the modeling, yeah.
Because that's important to me, because later on in the film, I remember more than one time, I believe Julian and Blair's character made reference to Clay, you left us, that kind of thing. Like he just abandoned them. And it's like, no, three different people made three different decisions. Throughout the progression of this film, which drugs are a heavy theme, Blair and Julian were kind of in a fog, you know? They weren't clear. I mean, there was a stark contrast between when they first graduated and then the events after that, because their minds are not necessarily as clear as they were when they graduated, because Blair and Clay were certainly going to college, and that was the path that they had chosen to take.
There's three different parts of the spectrum here, because you get Clay, I'm going to college, this is what I'm doing, and he follows through. And then you've got Blair, that's what I'm doing, and then, you know what, when it comes down to it, I don't think that's...
I don't want to do that.
And even that alone, I think, even if he hadn't caught them sleeping together, just that change, I think, would have really kind of taken their relationship into different directions right away, because he's feeling abandoned, but yet she's saying, you abandoned us. But, if I were Clay, I'd feel abandoned too, because we planned to do this together and then you drop out at the last second. And then you got Julian, who wasn't going at all.
That was never his plan to begin with.
So you get three different ways of looking at how am I going to take my future? How am I going to do this?
The common denominator is the drugs. I mean, the two that kind of are claiming that you abandoned me were both under the influence. To your point, I mean, Clay could have that same point of view in reverse, but that never dawns on the other two.
Once Clay returns home, he's invited to Rip's party, played by James Spader. He, of course, assumes that now I'm going to get to talk to Blair and all that. But all she wants to talk about is Julian, and he's not having it, and then Julian actually appears. So we get this awkward reunion. It felt real, and that's part of what I like about this film, is it feels like real people having real problems and making real decisions.
Drugs were in abundance at this party, and we also find out that Rip's a drug dealer. We get into Rip, James Spader's character. We find out that Julian is indebted to him for quite a bit of money. He's indebted to a lot of people, his father included, but he's mainly indebted to Rip, which is kind of the central point of the story, is that he owes this drug dealer a lot of money. Initially, he wanted to start a record label, and now he's got this another great get-rich-quick scheme in becoming a nightclub owner or something to that effect. But it was like an even bigger venture than the one he failed on previously. First, you ask your pops for a significant amount of money to start a record label, which, okay, fine, because his dad's well off. So, okay, that's not the worst thing in the world. And now when that fails, you're trying to jump from a record label to a nightclub venture. And I don't know, I've never ran either one of them, but I'm guessing it's just as bad, it's just as difficult or even more difficult than running a record label. And now you're going to drug dealers to get the money. So he's escalating in the wrong direction.
Yeah, he's damaged his relationship with his father, and maybe it wouldn't have been so bad had he been sober, but his father no longer trusts him. So you get where the father's coming from, and it's a very strained relationship. And then he's strained his relationship with Rip, but it's very different because he owes Rip, all this money. He's warning him, you gotta pay me, but he still keeps letting it slide. You don't quite trust Rip. Why is he holding on to Julian? Why is he so focused on, why is he letting him slide where I'm sure other people have owed him money for drugs and he hasn't let it slide? Why is he being so cool with Julian? You don't know, and it's kind of creepy, and there's like a sinister kind of, vibe going on.
Rip was the most compassionate, loving, and understanding drug dealer that has ever lived on the planet. I'm like, why are you so okay with this whole situation? It should be, where's my money every time I see you, and if next time I see you, don't give me my money, I'm cutting off a finger, or whatever, that kind of thing. It never got to that point. It's one of the negatives for me in the film that we didn't find out that there was a relationship between Rip and Julian sooner, because that affected my understanding of what Rip's character was, because I'm thinking he's just a random drug dealer that's just his pusher. There's not a relationship between the two, so I didn't understand why he was so cool with this guy owing him $50,000. So I don't know if it's a situation where Rip kind of spotted Julian and just knew he was a screw up and a junkie or whatever, and he could manipulate him, so he wanted to get him indebted to him. Those things were just not there for me, so it was like, well, I just didn't get it. I didn't understand Rip's character from that point of view. Later on, as the film progresses, we learn that they were friends, and okay, so now I kind of backtracked and realized, put those two pieces together, and then it made more sense. But during the course of the ride, I didn't get it.
After this party, Clay and Blair, they have a strained relationship now, of course, right. But both of them want to try to make it work, but they're not mature enough to tell each other that. They end up going to a dance club together, and Clay's just kind of sitting on the sidelines, and Blair's out there on the dance floor trying to entice him to come dance with her, and he just won't. She goes and sits down next to him, and they have a conversation.
I'm sorry.
What for?
Everything. Julian needed somebody. I guess I needed somebody too.
It doesn't matter, forget it.
Did you talk to Julian?
It's funny. When you called me, I thought I was coming home to see you.
Right after that, he stands up and leaves her, and he goes out and dances with another girl. There's immediately this sense of hopelessness, I guess, in Blair, as she's, he wouldn't do this for me, but now there he is. She looks beautiful. I mean, the whole shot is just really, really well done. But they make up fairly quickly. So not too long after this, they have made up, but there's a really great shot. They're in this red convertible together and they're making out. And then all these bikers come by with, their lights shining and stuff. And they just don't care and they laugh it off. And there's just something about the mood in this shot that it just screams 80s to me. And I love that about it. There's another great scene, not just the way it's filmed, but the caliber of acting and the interaction between McCarthy and Downey Jr. when they're on that big old rock at the beach.
You want to talk about it?
No.
You want to fight?
Nope. Blair was good to me. I was lonely and I needed somebody. She was there. It was nice. It wasn't exactly the World Series of love, though.
They both play this very well because you can feel that they don't quite know what to say to each other, but then everything ends up being cool. But then you also don't know, is he really being cool or is he just saying that? They want to trust each other because they've known each other for so long, but they can't just yet. And I thought all of that was expressed very well in like a minute scene or something between the two. We got to the point now where Rip is in full-on manipulation mode with Julian, so he's not going to give him any more time. But you can work it all off for me. That sounds good to Julian at first, but we very quickly realized there's something pretty awful going on here.
Yeah, it kind of makes you realize that Rip never really wanted his $50K back.
It was about getting another worker, getting someone he could have under his thumb.
Someone indebted to him
Yeah.
to do his whatever he wanted to do for him.
And that's why he was being so kind, And so that's what I mean. When you first see him, you don't know, but now we know. So he's running basically kind of a prostitution ring.
At this point in the film, we don't fully know that it's a male prostitution ring because the way they did it, they just kind of showed him coming out of a hotel room and it's implied that, sex just happened. Probably for money. It just shows you little small beats of this guy's sinister plot.
He's gone to Clay now for money because he has nowhere else to go.
I don't know what to do, and you're the only one.
What happens when you pay?
I don't know.
Think about it. Do you start over?
Clay, I need the money, all right? I don't need a discussion on the finer points of morality. I'm out of here.
Wait. Just wait. Just wait.
Clay, of course, being the good friend that he is, despite all that's happened, he tries to go get this $50,000. Julian, I guess it's a sense of pride. He can't go through with it after all. Clay leaves him for a second to go ask his father about money. And within those couple moments, Julian goes in and ends up stealing Clay's mother's jewelry. There's a great moment, though, I thought was cool, because I think he needed a little moment of lightness here in this film, because it's a very heavy film. Clay's little sister is in there putting on mom's jewelry and everything. And there's just a really cool interaction between Robert Downey Jr. as an actor and this little girl playing the little sister.
Jenny, I've been sitting by the phone, and it didn't ring. You don't call, and you don't write. You just don't communicate, I mean, it pains me deeply to accuse, but I suspect you're freezing me out.
Yes.
You're just such a heartless preteen hussy. Why are girls so cold? Huh? Oh, and then she laughs.
There's a sense of humor there that comes out in Downey's performance that made me think, okay, this is leading up to what we know him as today, this great sense of humor in every film he's in, or most films he's in, this Iron Man type of attitude. It's starting right here.
The characters, where you had mentioned his sister and his mother and his father and Clay's father and all these other sub-secondary characters, I didn't realize who those people were until the film was over, which I didn't like that. It's like, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out who the hell these people were. I get the point that he gave up on Clay getting the money for him and he just went and stole what he needed to, just kind of, junkie mindset. I'm just going to steal this, the quick way out.
It's easy.
It's the easy thing to do is just to steal this and you don't have to worry about getting me anymore. That kind of thing. That point is made clearly, but I didn't know who those characters were for me. That was still kind of in the fog. That's a problem for me.
I do admit, even this time, having seen it before, I was like, wait, this is Clay's family? Okay, this is his little sister. It still was, I had to try to remember from past viewings who these people were. So it is a little bit murky.
Yeah, definitely murky as to who these people are. I mean, it's not like they're super duper important characters, but they are important in a sense for context's sake. The point is still made that Julian ultimately chose to take the easy route out, but I can't just gloss over the fact that I didn't know who these people were. I think that's important to know.
Julian's taken off. Now no one really knows where he's at, so Blair and Clay are hunting him down, and they find him at the bottom of Blair's staircase when they get back to her loft. And he is blitzed, drugged out of his mind, can barely even stand up. Great performance here by Downey Jr. and great camera work. You just kind of feel like you're there with them trying to help him.
Nothing, a little...
Let's get him to the hospital.
No!
I'll handle it. Come on. Okay. Okay. See? Woohoo! Okay.
We get a real good look at how tight this group really is, these three friends, because they really go all out to help him and get him sober.
That's another one of the flaws for me. I get in the moment that they're trying everything they can to help, but I didn't understand why until the end of the film. I get you guys grew up together and all that, and you want to do everything you can for your friend, childhood friends. I totally get that. But in the moment, I didn't understand what was motivating these guys to do what they were doing when I was watching it.
For me, at this point in the story, enough has been addressed and reconciled between these characters that I'm good with when this happens in the film. Getting Clay back into a spot where he's okay with Blair, I think that almost fixed everything, because that's what was wrong to him, is he wanted Blair back. I don't know if even him as a human being knew he could get over her sleeping with Julian until they actually did reconcile. So I feel like they're in a place now where they would do this, where Clay would be involved.
I could totally see that. But my thinking is, if I'm Clay, Julian is a big problem. And I think James Spader's Rip has the best line, hey, I'm not the problem here, Julian is. And to me, if I'm Clay, there's got to be a point of realization where, even though he's a childhood friend, Julian is the source of a lot of my woes here. I can make a case for Blair not coming to college with me. I can make a case for Julian being responsible for that because, it's not really shown on film, but Blair's involvement with drugs probably had something to do with Julian. And then the sexual infidelity aspect of that as well. And now you got me pulled into another situation because you can't get your stuff together. Maybe I need to distance myself as far as I can from this guy.
I think a lot of people would say, you know what, I'm done. And the point is to show that these two are not going to do that. They do get Julian sobered up, and things are actually looking pretty good for the first time in a while for him. And he goes to his father's house. He asks him if he can stay a couple nights, and that's all he wants.
Julian? Can you stay clean for 1 week? I'll do everything I can to help you. But I need you to help me, too.
I could try.
Julian was looking just to be, not that he didn't trust Blair and Clay, but I think he wanted to be around someone that he could trust on a gut level, that kind of thing. Because with Clay, there's still that ambiguous nature of like, I know he's still kind of pissed at me, that whole nature. So I think he just wanted to be around like family. And juxtaposed to that, his father just dead set does not trust him one bit. He loves his boy, but he's still disappointed and pissed off at him. It's the anger that he has towards his son versus the love that he has for his son. And it's that whole tug of war in that scene. And ultimately, which I think is the right thing, the love for his son wins the day.
Meanwhile, Clay returns to Blair's loft to find that it's completely ransacked. It's a message from Rip saying, no, Julian's mine, leave him alone, you're not going to save him. This message from Rip, it triggers Clay to like, you know what, I've had it. I'm going to go face to face with this guy, and I'm going to let him know, no, we're Julian's friend, we're taking care of him, you can't have him anymore.
Yeah, and I love that. It's a great moment. It kind of shows you that he's over the whole Blair-Julian situation, which I'd still be kind of ticked personally, but...
Well, even if he is still upset a little, it doesn't matter right now because his friendship's more important.
Friendship overrides that. So he's at least in a good space with that. But the part that I thought was interesting is he confronts him. He can't fight. You know what? This guy's got heart. He will stand up for his friend, but got his butt handed to him. So
but he put his right foot forward. You got to give him that.
This guy's all heart, no brain right now.
So Rip's having yet another party in this film now. There's a really great moment for Blair's character. She's hanging out with 3 of her girlfriends, and one of the girlfriends' nose starts bleeding. Yes. Obviously, they're all users. Blair's kind of like, hey, hello, your nose. Like, hey, take care of yourself. And girl just laughs it off and calls it rusty pipes, and they all start cracking up. It shows you obviously how lightly they're taking their problem. They're young and stupid and all that. But Blair kind of has her first realization of, I'm just like them.
Yeah, it's a great epiphany moment. She's going through all this stuff, bending over backwards trying to help her buddy Julian, and she's on the same road as Julian, just like 200 miles behind him. That's a great realization, and it kind of sobers you up real quick. Hey, you know what? I don't want to be this. I want better than that for myself. It's a great message and a great moment for the character. That's probably my favorite scene of the film.
After Julian sees his father, he goes straight to Rip to basically tell him, I'm done for real. I will have your money. But of course, Rip's heard all this before. They literally put the drugs right in front of his face, and he falls again, unfortunately. Clay comes to the rescue. They're in and out, and that's it.
Yeah, he learned. At least he learned his lesson. He's like, you know what? I can't fight. I'm just going to go grab him and leave and run. And he kind of just, peels out of there. And all three of them are in the car. They're riding off into the sunset.
They keep driving. The sun's coming up at this point, I think, and stuff. So time's passed. Blair's asleep in the passenger seat.
Yeah, Clay's almost asleep himself.
And then Julian kind of just slumps over onto Clay's shoulder. And you as the viewer know this ain't right. But Clay, if you were driving, it's just, my friend fell asleep on me or whatever. Hey, get up, buddy. And Julian's gone. Julian's died. It's a great ending to the film, even though it's not happy. And I really, really love the moment with Jamie Gertz when she just puts her head on Julian's chest to hear if he's got a heartbeat.
No.
We do get a little bit of a happy ending, I guess, in that Blair tells Clay she'll go away back to school with him. I don't know if she's going to go to school, but they're at least going to be together. And at least they have that from all of this. They've got each other again.
We closed the film with that graduation photo. This is a great recap to show you that we've gone on such a long ride. There's a lot of things that have happened in these characters' lives between when they graduated and now. It's a great way to end the film.
It's the same exact still shot, but it means something completely different an hour and a half later in real time.
December wind has come my way, and now I feel the world falling all at once. It's too late.
I want to commend this film for being able to cover so much ground in 90 some odd minutes. This was an incredibly dense movie. There's a lot of different things that were happening. There were certain ways that the story was told that kind of I wish were a little more effective than they actually were. There was a few moments where I was just kind of lost, didn't know exactly what was happening, who was who, that kind of thing. I actually remember thinking to myself that I want to give this film the amount of shiny bald heads that the title implies, less than 0. But you know what? As the film progressed and the way that it ended saved a lot of it for me. I'm going to give less than 0, 3.5 out of 5 shiny bald heads.
From the score to just the way it's filmed, I mean, it's just drenched in the 1980s, which I love about this film. More than that, we get stellar performances from the lead cast. Robert Downey Jr. really does kind of steal the show, though. He's excellent. It can be a tough film to watch. It's a moody tale, and they do a great job bringing you into this story and making you feel like you're part of it. And I would give less than 0, 3.5 out of 5 shiny bald heads as well. Last time on the couch, we reviewed Sinister, so if you missed it, now's a great time to check it out. If you enjoy what we're doing, please hit that like button and subscribe. To receive alerts when new videos are posted, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thanks for joining us on the couch.